This is Jamie with Antelope Beads, here with a few fun ideas to decorate your packages this holiday season. Last year around this time we did a video on how to make origami paper boxes, like the ones that you see here. So please feel free to check out that video at the Watch and Learn section of antelopebeads.com so that you can make your own boxes to go along with this fun packaging. So here we're going to cover 3 ways to add beads to your package dressings using leather, beads, and nothing more than a few different knots. We'll use overhand knot, double overhand knot, surgeon's knot, and Lark's hand knot. And the only tool we'll need are scissors and a few little bead stoppers or clips or something to mark your place on one of the leather designs. Alright, let's get started. So we're going to start with this fun box. In it we're just using a few different kazuri beads with 1 yard of 1.5 millimeter leather. So we have another box here ready to go, and I have the leather and beads that we'll use in this one. So I'm taking my leather and I'm going to find about where the center is, because the center, we're going to start with the center when doing the dressing. So we found the center of the leather, and we'll just place it over the top of the box like that. And then we'll turn the box over and take the 2 ends and crisscross them across the back. And then we'll turn the box back to the right way. Now this part, it's helpful if you have someone who has a finger or something that they can use to hold down this knot. So what I did is just did one little 1/2 inch over knot with the sides, and I'm going to kind of pull that taut. I'm going to try to use my finger to keep it taut while I do a surgeon's knot. A surgeon's knot is just like an overhand knot, so I put it through once, but instead of just going through the one time, I'm going to take one tail of the leather through that hole again, so it's wrapped around twice. Then I can just pull both ends of the leather. Again, it's easier if you have someone else's finger to hold that first part taut. But here we go. We got that knot formed. So then I'll just kind of, pull and adjust it here and there to get it to look nice. And then from there, I can add the beads. So with one end of the leather, I'll take this Kazuri Pit-a-Pat Philosophy bead and string it on. I'm going to go ahead and push it all the way up toward that center knot, because I'm going to need as much of this length as leather as possible to work with. So I'm going to do a double overhand knot here. So I'm going to form a loop with the leather and then a second loop. And I'm going to take that short little end there and pass it up through both loops. Then I can just go ahead and pull. Get that nice and tight. And I can use scissors just to trim it down. With the other side of the leather, I'll take one of our Kazuri 10 to 12 millimeter round beads, string it on, and I'll let it fall again all the way to the knot. Next, I'll just do one little overhand knot, a little bit away from that Kazuri bead, just so it has some space to move around. Then I'll go ahead and string the other bead. And again, I'm going to do a double overhand knot. And this time I have even less to work with, so it might take a little bit of patience just to get that tiny bit of leather to work. But you can do it. Or if it's too frustrating, you can always do just an overhand knot, as long as the knot's large enough to keep the bead from sliding off. So there's that one, and I'm going to trim that up. And then we have this first piece all nice and decorated. A couple different ways. The next one we'll do is, it's going to be like this one here. And in this one, I've used 2 yards of leather. In this example, I've used 1 millimeter leather. In the one that we'll recreate, we'll use 1.5 millimeter. I've used the tiara cast charm, some of our pewter spacers in the brass finish, and some Tagua nut rondelles with the large hole. So for this one, I already have the box prepared. And what we do for this one is on the leather, the 2 yards, like I said, is we're going to have a few beads tied along the way, as you can see here. So this one I've already done in advance, and I'll show you just really quickly how I decided on the bead placement for this. So here's just a plain, no beads, 2 yards again. So I'm going to look for the center, because the way that we wrap the leather around this box, we're again going to start with the center of it. So I find the center, and I'm going to place that around the top kind of corner of the box. Now I know that that's one spot where I'm going to be placing beads, so I'm going to take a little bead stopper here and just open it up and clip it there to the leather. Maybe. There we go. So I know that's going to be there, and then I wrap the leather around this bottom corner of the box and then up above the top corner again. And with the other side I do the same thing. So I have the leathers crossing here over the bottom. And as you can see in the example here, that's where we've also placed some beads. So again, I'm going to take a couple more bead stoppers and just mark the leathers here and here. So that's what I did in order to get this piece where I already have the beads tied on. I made these measurements of where I wanted the beads to be, and then I just used double overhead knots to keep the beads in place. And I'm again using a pewter spacer and 2 Tagua nut large hole rondelles. So since we have this ready to go, we'll find the center again, and we can go ahead and wrap the box. So again, I place it at that top corner. I'm going to wrap one corner around, the other corner around and up, and they're going to kind of cross each other. Then I'm going to take this one down and up again, and this one down and up again, and they will meet up at the top here. Then I can go ahead and just tie. I'm just going to tie a surgeon's knot here. So I did the one little beginning of the tie there, and now with the surgeon's knot again, I'm going to go through there once and twice. And then I will pull that. Once again, I'll adjust it, make sure it's nice and tight, both sides of the leather. And there we go. Now I can see that I have, quite a bit of length left in the leather on these. So I'm going to go ahead and trim them down just a little bit. One of them I'm going to keep kind of long. It's the one that with this one I'm going to loop around the charm and then back up. So I need a little bit more length with that. But I'll still trim off, a good 3 inches or so. The other side, I don't need it to be quite as long, so I'll probably go ahead and cut off about half of that one. With these 2 little pieces that I've cut off, I have some more beads here in the charm we're going to use. With these pieces, I'm just going to go ahead and make some of these little dangles that you can see up here. So I've got a piece of leather here. I'm going to tie an overhand knot at the end. This one's so short that I think we'll just stick with overhand knots instead of double. And then I can string on a toggle bead, pewter, and another toggle bead. And I'm going to repeat that pattern. So there's going to be 6 beads on there. Tagua, pewter, Tagua, and I'll go ahead and tie a knot on this other end. And again, in this one, I'll just do an overhand knot because this leather is so short. So there's one piece. We'll go ahead and do that with this other one. This one, I think I have enough length that I can do a double overhand. So I'm going to do that 2 loops over here and then put that leather end through the loops. Go ahead and pull that nice and tight. And again, I'll string that same sequence of beads. So Tagua knot, pewter, Tagua, Tagua, pewter, Tagua. And I'll go ahead and tie another double overhand knot. These knots are also little. Sorry if my hand keeps getting in the way. Okay, so now we have our two little center pieces. So I'm going to take them and just place them here on top of this first knot that we made. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie another surgeon's knot over the top of it. In this instance, I'm just going to do the second half of the knot where I loop once, loop twice through, and then pull. And there's those pieces. Now I have my two other lengths. With one side, I'm going to switch it up a little bit and do pewter bead, Tagua, pewter, and then do that double overhand knot again. So once, twice, and the little end through the loop. Tighten that up. Okay, and one more. With this one, we're going to go ahead and string on one Tagua and the charm. And then I'm going to pass the leather back through the hole in that Tagua bead. With the 1.5mm leather, it's a little bit snug, but it's definitely possible. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull it up close to the package there. So I have maybe a couple inches, maybe I'll give myself a little more room, 2.5 inches there. And I want to make sure that the end of the leather is pulled up all the way as close to that knot or past it. Because then what I'm going to do is take this whole piece and do an overhand knot. So I have to make a pretty big loop here in order to fit through the wreath and the little Tagua bead. But I get those through, and then I can kind of play with adjusting the knot to see how long I want this piece to be, where I want the knot to be, and then I can just go ahead and tighten it up. Okay, and I can go ahead and trim that leather. So here's our second design with the little charms and dangles. Now this one, you probably could unwrap it and use the main piece to wrap around your wrist as a wrap piece, but regardless, you can use the beads in another project after. But for the meantime, this is just a fun way to decorate a gift. And then we have one more, and this one you can absolutely unwrap and wear. The way that we have the leather tied to this pendant, we're using a lark's head knot. And if you carefully just unwrap the rest of the leather, you would be able to then retie it around your neck in a necklace. So for this one, again, we have our box, and I have my Swazi pendant, and I have 1 yard of leather. And like I said, we're going to do a lark's head knot. So I'm going to find the center of the leather here, put the two ends together, kind of measure it up. And I'm going to pass this little loop of leather through the back hole. Actually, I'm going to go front to back. Through the front hole. And then I'm going to take the ends and just pass them through that loop. And I'm going to hold on to the ends as I pull it. So there, you've pulled it nice. That's a lark's head knot. And so now your leather is secure on the pendant. And so what I was saying when I said you could just unwrap this and wear it is if you carefully unwrap this, this is what you're left with. Just the lark's head knot attached to the pendant with leather. Once we've done that lark's head knot, we'll then take And like we did with that first example, we're just going to place the center of the piece on the box there. I'm going to turn it over, crisscross it in the back, and turn it over again. Okay, so this one, what we're going to do is this piece here, we're going to take it and put it under the pendant, like that. And it'll pull up in there. The other end, we're going to put under the leather and pendant and then through the hole in the pendant, like that. So I've got my two pieces, or two leather ends here. And I'm just going to pull them nice and taut. Make sure everything's kind of lined up with the package. And once again, I'm going to do a surgeon's knot. So I'm going to loop it through once and pull. And you want to be careful when pulling it tight just to make sure that the leather ends all kind of match up there around the pendant. And then I'll finish the knot by looping through once, twice, and I'll pull again. So there's a knot on there, and what I did with this one, in order to get it the ends curly like a ribbon, is I just carefully with my fingers take and curl it up. And I just kind of hold it there for a few seconds. And you might need to do it 2 or 3 times. I had to do it a couple times with the other example. But then once you let it go, it does have a little bit of curl to it. And though it will relax some, it'll keep some of that curl to it, which just makes it look a little bit more fun, I think. So we'll try to curl up that other one a little bit. And then there's our third design. So, as you can see by these 6 pieces, it's really easy, really fun to add beads to your gift packaging. You can do this on a larger scale package or smaller, no matter what you have. You would just need to adjust the yardage of your leather. But you can find more information on these ideas in the Ideas and Inspirations page at antelopebeads.com. Thank you and happy holidays.